Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Behind me is the cheapest bike on eBay that has 1x11 drivetrain. I bought it. Was it worth it? Let's find out! Needless to say that I got this bike for a pretty good deal. I paid under $100, and this includes the rust, which in my opinion, it's definitely a good deal. Let's quickly go through the bike and maybe start from the front. We have Canvas with 4 tires and Mavic XM319 wheels with Shimano hubs. Pretty nice. We have this pretty cool actually fork from Air Bike. You can see it's aluminum and it really looks pretty nice. It looks like the road bikes and their carbon forks, but this aluminum, as I said. I'm not sure what's going on with this headset here, but we're gonna take it apart and have a look. For brakes, we have hydraulic disc brakes from Tektro. And pulling this into the garage, they were pretty solid, which surprised me actually. There is 180mm rotor on the front with 160 on the back. Moving back, we have the actual frame, which is from Merida. The model is Trail 300. Has a few scratches here and there, but that's okay. The rear brake is the same, Tektro. It's a bit more rusted than the front, but it's overall good. For the rear wheel, we have again Kenda tire and the same Mavic rim with the same Shimano hub. And the most important part, the drivetrain. We have Shimano XT cassette 11-speed, Shimano XT derailleur with a clutch, again 11-speed, and the 11-speed crank. Wow, this feels nice. A bit scratched, but nice overall. Of course, gonna say this drivetrain is trashed, and with all this rust on the chain, this cannot be good, right? Okay, let's verify this. I have my trusty chain wear tool. Let's see if it's gonna go in or not. Oh, look at that. The 0.75 mark does not go in, which means we are good with the chain wear, and probably the rest of the components are also good. Of course, I don't think this 1x11 drivetrain belongs to this bike. Previous owner had it as a commuter. Obviously, judging by the rust, this has been out for a while. If I'm building a commuter, I'll definitely put a cheaper drivetrain. First of all, because when you wear down this cassette, you're looking at maybe $100 or $60-70 to replace this. Chains are also pretty expensive. So, my plans for this. Definitely, these components won't stay on this bike. I have a pretty special plan for the frame, and these components are probably gonna go on another project. So now let's take everything apart and inspect each part individually, see what's the condition, and in the end I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do in the frame, probably in one of the next videos. Let's begin! As you can see, we are almost done with the disassembly. However, I noticed that my bottom bracket tool actually does not fit on this bottom bracket, and this is BBMT800. So apparently these ones are smaller than the previous generation. So here, for example, on this frame, this tool fits perfectly. So now I'm gonna try and 3D print a spacer. I found a model online I'm gonna 3D print a spacer that will go in between, and hopefully we're gonna be able to take this apart. Let's see how it goes. And here we have the part printed. So this goes over here, and the other part will go into the tool. So let's see if this will hold up. Now that the bike is fully taken apart, I've laid out all the components here. And first of all, I would like to say thank you to the person who built this bike. Everything, despite all the rust, was so easy to take apart. Especially, for example, the pedals. Usually these get over tightened. And if you can see, for example, here, the threads, it looks like there is a bit of grease on them. So these were very easy to take off. And also the bottom bracket, you can see there is some sort of grease on it. Especially with my 3D printed tool, it was actually pretty easy to take apart. So yeah, thank you. Let's quickly go through all the components here and see what's their state. Starting with the brakes. So the brakes felt pretty good on the bike, but you can see the calipers have seen better days. For example, I need to take this apart and clean it up, but I think after that even we can probably reuse the parts. There's still some life left into them. The front brake is pretty much in the same condition. However, one of the pistons here is slightly out, so definitely have to clean this up and push this back in. But again, the parts look to have some life left into them. There was something weird, like this tape kind of thing on the mounting point as well. I don't know what's this about, but overall, these brakes are definitely salvageable. Again, bolts, basically every bolt has rust on it, but as I said, they were quite easy to take apart, which was pretty nice. As we saw, the bottom bracket is in good condition. The bearing moves freely, so definitely salvageable as well. The skewers, they have some rust on them, but they are Shimano. Wow, pretty nice. So probably gonna remove the rust and put a layer of paint on top of them, and they will be good as new. Next, moving on to the chain. Wow, looking at the chain now, it looks in a worse condition than when it was on the bike, but surprisingly, oh, you can see HGX11. Surprisingly, it still kind of moves, so maybe I will see if this can be saved. I don't know. Maybe I'll try to make a video on that. But the interesting thing is, look, on one side, almost no rust. On the other side, pretty bad. Quite strange. If you remember, we saw something weird about the headset. And actually, for some reason, they've put two headset adapters. And the reason for this is basically this one has not doesn't have sealed bearings, and that's why they've put this one on. But the one that came with the fork was for sealed bearings. So we're gonna have to remove this aluminum one and just keep this one here. And I think the gap from the frame to the forks will be removed. But yeah, forks are in decent condition. Everything looks pretty nice. Looking at the wheels, you can see quite a lot of rust on the bolts and on the desk. I haven't tried to take this apart, but I hope they will be easy to take apart. You can see here much better the rust on the spokes. Probably this wheel, I'll probably run this wheel on one of my commuter bikes or have it as a spare, we'll see. But again, has some nice quality components, Mavic rim, Shimano hub. So yeah, good to have around. The rear wheel actually looks a bit worse. The free hub moves freely actually, which is nice sound. The cassette was also easy to remove, and similar condition here. The bolts are actually a bit rustier. And moving on to the special piece, which is the drivetrain. Let's start maybe with the cassette. Actually, cassette, as I said, quite easy to take off. You can see actually this cassette has not been used much. I think all the teeth look pretty nice. I think we just have to clean off the rust, and this cassette will probably have a lot of life left into it. So definitely salvageable. Moving to the derailleur. Derailleur actually moves freely. There is a bit of dirt all over it, but the jockey wheels move freely. And the most important thing is the clutch. So if you engage the clutch, it works perfect, which is very nice. So again, this needs a clean and should be ready to use on another bike. Moving to the crank arm, 170mm crank arm, which is exactly what I like to use on my bikes. The logo is scratched off, but overall in pretty good condition. The other crank arm also in pretty nice condition. You can see here actually there is no obvious marks, which is very nice. And also the chainring, these teeth look pretty much brand new, which is pretty nice. It's a shame that this bike was left outside for so long, but I think we can clean it up and use the parts for good. And again, the shifter also looks pretty nice. Maybe I need to re-lube it inside. Usually you can just remove this from here and spray a bit of lube in it, and usually that does a trick. But also, yeah, they've used some quality cable, and interestingly, I've never seen this before. Shimano end cap, quite interesting. Pretty nice, pretty nice. So yeah, overall, pretty happy with the condition of the components. Of course, I have to do some work to make them in a usable state, but they are pretty much all salvageable, which is great. So definitely, I think so far this bike was worth it. And this leads us to the frame and my plans for it. A friend of mine who cycles to work every day and bought his bike from Amazon for 150 bucks. This bike is so heavy and so unreliable. So he's looking for a new bike. He has a budget, but I think using this frame and some parts that are laying around, we can build him a basic but reliable commuter bike and save him a bunch of money. That will be the plan for one of the next videos. We're gonna build the bike and surprise him with it. I'm gonna have to come up with something. Maybe I'll invite him for an interview about his current bike and how much he loves it. And then in the end, we're gonna surprise him with the bike that we're gonna build. Oh, I cannot wait to start working on it. But until then, thank you all for watching. And as always, all of you, wear at least a helmet, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!